Please stand up for protection, please.
Central Administration, Professor Mohammed, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Services, the Registrar, the Inaugural Lecturer, Professor Mohammed Bukar, who is also the Provost, College of Medical Directors, our eminent invited guests, great university students, Indeed, to welcome you all, individually and collectively, the area indulgence to invite the Vice Chancellor, University of Maiduguri, who is represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Central Administration, Professor Mohammed to introduce to us the 79th inaugural lecture in the person of Professor Mohammed.
Distinguished professors, other principal officers of the university, provost, deans, directors, heads of departments and units, members of Senate, my dear students, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am here standing for the Vice Chancellor, Professor Bukar, who is absent. So, for introducing our inaugural lecture. It is my honor and privilege to welcome you to the 79th inaugural lecture of the University of Maiduguri, to be delivered by Professor Mohammed Bukar of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, College of Medical Science. Professor Bukar's topic is the third eye and women's reproductive health, the wonders of ultrasound scan. Without wasting much time, let me present to you the profile of the 79th inaugural lecture. Standing here before you is the 16th Provost of the College of Medical Sciences, University of Maiduguri. Born on the Mobila Plateau in former Angola State on the 27th of May 1967, Alhaji Bukar Adam and Aisha Asta Bukar, both of blessed memory. His hometown is Goza in Borno State. He is married to Hajia Bifis Muhammad Bukar, and the marriage is blessed with 4 children: Abu Bakar, Omar, Aisha, and Halima. He started his education in 1976 at Inaugural Primary School, Gembu, in the present-day Taraba State, following which he proceeded to Arabic Teachers College, South. He transferred his studies to the Government Secondary School, Gembu, while in Form 2, where he obtained his senior secondary certificate in 1987. Subsequently, he gained admission to study medicine and surgery in the famous University of Maiduguri between 1987 and 1995. Upon graduation, he performed a mandatory 1-year internship program at the State Specialist Hospital, Maiduguri, between 1995 and 1996. He was posted to Odamboro Cottage Hospital, Ogugu, in Kogi State, for the 1-year mandatory National Youth Service, NYS, between 1996 and 1997. Upon his return to Maiduguri in 1997, he was appointed as medical officer at General Hospital, Bama, where he diligently served until 1998, when he enrolled for his postgraduate residency training in obstetrics and gynecology at the Federal Medical Center in Bombay. He completed his residency in 2006 and joined the service of the Federal Medical Center, Yola, as a consultant obstetrician and gynecologist. In October 2007, he was appointed Lecturer 1, as well as honorary consultant in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, University of Maiduguri, and the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, respectively. He was appointed professor in October 2014. Professor Mohammed Bukar has over 100 publications in both local and international peer-reviewed journals. And he also has chapters in books. He has over 1,000 citations on Google Scholar, and his Google Scholar H index and I-10 index are 21 and 33 respectively. 44% of his papers are in journals with very wide analytics impact factor, and he is the lead or corresponding author with 60% of his publications. He has supervised 16 Part 1 and 4 Part 2 candidates for fellowship. He has also obtained certificates in ultrasound in obstetrics and gynecology, clinical epidemiology, design and interpretation of clinical trials, systematic review and meta-analysis, epidemics, pandemic and outbreaks, local and training skills, good clinical practice, and international ovarian tumor analysis group certificate. He has been certified as a management consultant and a management specialist by the Institute of Management Consultants of Nigeria. He has attended 50 workshops and conferences both within and outside the country, presenting 21 papers in some of those. Professor Mohammed Bukar has served exceptionally in several capacities, dating back to his secondary school days, where he was the head student of Government Secondary School Yabu in 1986-87. He was the National President of Borno State Medical Students Association, House Officers and State Stations Hospital Maiduguri, President Association of Resident Doctors, Federal Medical Center Bombay, Pioneer Chief President, Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Federal Medical Center Bombay, Secretary Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria, ULTRASOUND chapter, Pioneer Northeast Donor Coordinator and Continuing Medical Education to Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria. He was at one time also the head of the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, University of Maiduguri, and Deputy Provost, College of Medical Sciences. He is the Editor-in-Chief of Borno Medical Journal, Canon Journal of Medical Sciences, as well as an Associate Editor of Nigerian Postgraduate Medical Journal. Professor Bukar has served in 85 committees of the university, either as chairman or member. cutting across diverse areas of human endeavors at local and national levels. He served as member of the State Private Hospitals Registration and Regulation Authority, trustee, Senior Staff Association of Universities Teaching Hospitals, Research Institutions and Allied Institutions, Federal Medical Center Gombe, member, Nigerian Medical Association, National Committee on Millennium Development Goals, member, Borno State Technical Committee on Maternal and Child Health, member, High-Powered Committee for the Establishment of Borno State College of Medicine and Borno State University Teaching Hospital, and member, TED Fund National Research Fund Screening and Monitoring Committee. He was the chairman, Federal Medical Center Gombe News Bulletin Editorial Board, chairman, Continuous Medical Education Committee, NMA Gombe State team leader for joint annual review and midterm review for Federal Ministry of Health, chairman, Bylaw Committee, Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria, UMTH, chairman, Tertiary Reproductive Health Revolving Fund Committee, ULTRASOUND, Chairman, NMA Borno State Welfare Seed Money Committee, Chairman, College of Medical Sciences Technical Committee on Blueprint for Nigeria's Prosperity in 2050, Chairman, Guidelines Development Committee for Pre-Part 1 Book, Faculty of Obstetrics and Gynecology, National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, Chairman Committee to draft a new curriculum for Faculty of Obstetrics and Gynecology, National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, Chairman Subcommittee to review Part 2 proposals submitted to the Faculty of Obstetrics and Gynecology, National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, Pioneer Chairman, Health Research Ethics Committee, University of Maiduguri, and Team Leader, TED Fund Monitoring and Evaluation to Modibo Adama University, Yola, University of Jos, and Nasarawa State University in Kefi. Professor Mohammed Bukar has served as external examiner for undergraduate programs to Bayero University Kano and Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. He is also an examiner of the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, Faculty of Obstetrics and Gynecology. He has assessed 10 candidates to professorial cadre from Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, Kaduna State University, Usman Danfodio University Sokoto, University of Ilorin, Chukwemeka Odumegu Ojukwu University Oka, University of Port Harcourt, and Bayero University Kano. The 79th inaugural lecturer also served as an assessor for the special COVID-19 proposals for TED Fund and Nigerian Center for Disease Control. He served as a member of accreditation visits for Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, the National Postgraduate Medical College of Nigeria, and the National Universities Commission to Federal Medical Center Jabi, Abuja, Babcock University, Abeokuta, University of Port Harcourt, Federal Medical Center Yenegua, Bayelsa State, Niger Delta University, Wilberforce Island, Bayelsa State, University of Medical Sciences, Ondo, Asokoro, Wuse, and Maitama Hospitals, FCT Abuja, and the University of Benin Teaching Hospital. He was a member of the Faculty Board of Obstetrics and Gynecology between 2014 and 2018. Board member, Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Maiduguri, between 2015 and 2018, and current board member, University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, and Borno State Hospitals Management Board. Professor Mohammed Bukar is a recipient of numerous awards and commendations. He received the NYSC State Merit Award in Kogi State in 1997, Best Senior Staff, Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Federal Medical Center Gombe in 2004, Life Membership Award by the Association of Resident Doctors, Federal Medical Center Gombe in 2016, Favorite Lecturer Award by graduating MBBS/BDS class of 2010, Best Lecturer Award, MBBS/BDS graduating class of 2011, Outstanding Lecturer Award by MBBS/BDS graduating class of 2014, and Friend of the Class by graduating MBBS/BDS class of 2016. He was commended for hard work by the University of Maiduguri Council during the 2007 and 2008 appraisal exercise, and commended by the same council in 2011 for number of publications. He also received commendation letters from the top management committee of the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital as head of department on his very laudable initiative. He received the Association of Resident Doctors University of Maiduguri Branch Award for reorienting the best department for residency training in UMTH as head of department in 2013. In March 2021, the University of Maiduguri Medical Students Association named their secretariat after him. He is a member of Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria, Nigerian Medical Association, Nigerian Institute of Management, Nigerian Cancer Society, Society of Obstetrics and Gynecology of Nigeria, International Society of Ultrasound in Obstetrics and Gynecology, and International Ovarian Tumor Analysis Group. Professor Mohammed is a fellow of the West African College of Surgeons, fellow, Medical College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, fellow, International College of Surgeons, fellow, Institute of Management Consultants, and fellow, Institute of Management Specialist. Ladies and gentlemen, our inaugural lecturer has trained many fellows and is a reviewer to 18 local and international peer-reviewed journals, including Springer Nature journals. He has contributed 13 chapters in 6 different books and one of 5 editors of 2 books. He has also authored 4 books solo. His hobbies are reading and writing. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I have the honor and privilege to present to you our 79th inaugural lecturer, a devoted son, husband, and father, an erudite scholar, a diligent professional, and a passionate academician, Professor Mohammed Bukar.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Vice Chancellor, University of Maiduguri, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Central Administration, the Registrar, the Bursar, the University Librarian, members of Council, members of Senate, the Provost, Deans and Directors, Heads of Departments, CMDs and MDs here present, the town and gown, my lords, spiritual and temporal, resident doctors, our students, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The title of my inaugural lecture is The Third Eye and Women's Reproductive Health, the Wonders of Ultrasound Scan. The third eye in the title of my lecture refers to this machine, which is ultrasound scan machine. I'm greatly honored to be given this rare privilege to present the 79th inaugural lecture of my great alma mater. It may interest the audience not that the first inaugural lecture from the College of Medical Sciences was delivered in 1980 by Sen Gupta JK, entitled Health, Nutrition, and Population in Human Settlements. The first inaugural lecture delivered from my department was in 1982 by Lista Luigi, entitled Prolonged Labor, Causes, Customs, and Consequences. This lecture is the second from my department. Mr. Vice Chancellor, the first inaugural lecture from my department was delivered 39 years ago when I was in primary 5 in faraway Mambila Plateau. How would I have envisaged that close to 4 decades, I would be the one who will deliver the second inaugural lecture from my department? I want to pay particular tribute to all the academic giants who have carried this part, from the first inaugural lecturer, Jerke B, who delivered the first university inaugural lecture in 1979, to the last inaugural lecturer, Chiroma Isahayat. Mr. Chairman, sir, I'm conscious of the fact that here we have an assemblage of the town and gown. So as much as possible, I would avoid the use of medical jargon so that at the end of this hour, we'll all be on the same page. The third eye in the title of my lecture refers to ultrasound, which is defined as sound waves with frequencies higher than the upper audible limit of human hearing. The images we see on this machine are formed by sending pulses of ultrasound scan into tissues using Profs. The common images we see are called bright mode images. Others show blood flow, motion over time, and 3D images. Ultrasound provides images in real time. It is cheap, readily available and accessible. And unlike other imaging modalities, it does not use ionizing radiation. However, you need a skilled operator to operate the machine. The field of view is usually limited. And in obese patients, the resolution is usually poor. And of course, you need the cooperation of the patient to perform an ultrasound scan. When we talk about gynecology ultrasound scan, we're referring to the use of a third eye to image the female pelvic organs. When we talk about obstetric ultrasonography, we're referring to real-time images of the developing baby. This is the evolution of ultrasound machine, the third eye, from a gigantic machine that occupies a whole room to what we literally now have like a palm top. Mr. Chairman, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when I sat for my first examination after primary school, I failed. At the second attempt, I got admission to go to Arabic Teachers College, Song. My father allowed me reluctantly. And my elder brother, seated here, was then an undergraduate in ABU. When he heard about it, he was not happy. But as a young man, or as a young boy, that was what I wanted. So my father allowed me. So I started a tortuous journey from Sadala local government, navigating through Gashaka, Bali, up to Song. So how come today? I'm presenting my inaugural lecture not as an Arabic teacher, but as a medical teacher. I couldn't bear the financial difficulties in Song, so I had to rush back from Song to Sabora local government. The person who facilitated my transfer to Gembu was late Alhaji Yusuf Iman, a close friend of my father. When I went to Yola, he asked me, why would I want to transfer from Arabic Teachers College to GSS Gembu instead of Teachers College? I told him that was what I wanted, and he facilitated my transfer. He left a mark in my life, and that reminds me of what Ehelia said. He said, a child's life is like a piece of paper on which every person leaves a mark. He left a mark on my life, and I hope I also leave a mark on somebody's life. An inaugural lecture is an occasion where a newly appointed professor tells the world what he has done, what he is doing, and what he intends to do. My lecture is just about that. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished scholars, members of the town and gown, my lecture is divided into 6 sections. The first section addresses the beginning of my journey into women's reproductive health. The second section examines my academic excursion. The third surveys my administrative surgeon. The fourth x-rays my professional expedition. The fifth looks at the wonders of ultrasound scanning pictures. And the sixth focuses my desired destination. How did I begin my journey into women's reproductive health? When I started for JAM in 1989, I was given botany in Modibo, Adamawa, and then a campus of University of Maiduguri. When I was in my paramedic, what I wanted to read was actually pharmacy. But at that point, University of Maiduguri does not have a pharmacy. I have no particular reason why I wanted pharmacies. I just followed my instinct. When the plan came out, I was given medicine and surgery. As a clinical student, whenever I go to the labor ward, the smell of the labor ward puts me off. The smell of the labor ward puts me off. So after my NYC, I was not sure where to specialize. Then came fasting period. I said, okay, I will start fasting from day 1 to the end, for God to guide me in my choice of specialty. But the story of women's health was not part of the list. But at the end of the fasting, what came to my mind was the care of women. So my choice of specialty actually is a divine intervention. Today, as a doctor, the ambience in the labor room is that of aroma, no longer smell. I joined the university reluctantly because we are looking up to our mentor who has this rugged computer and is always busy imputing data. And as yesterday said, we survived a lot. We said, we are not going to continue this way. But he encouraged me to join the university. He has never for once asked me to do anything wrong. And that is why I followed his suggestions, and the rest, as they say, is history. I think at this juncture, I would like my mentor to stand up for recognition, so that the audience can see the face of a first-class mentor. Professor Mohammed, how do you please? Thank you very much. My academic excursion. Why am I today? Certainly, I've gone beyond this. And certainly, I'm not here yet. Paul, 26 years later, on the same spot, but this time not as a student, but as a provost of the college. Today, my research interest is an ultrasound scan. But before I developed interest in ultrasound scan, we've carried out so many researches that have bearing on the lives of our women. I will say with all modesty that the researches we've carried out has given hope to the hopeless, has helped the helpless, has given children to the childless, and brought peace to many homes. One of our earliest studies was titled Risk Factors for Obstetric Fistula in Northeastern Nigeria. Obstetric fistula is when a woman lives with uncontrollably, commonly as a result of prolonged obstructed labor. We decided to review, to look at the risk factors for this condition, so that based on the risk factors, we will be able to put measures to address this matter. This paper has been cited over 100 times, telling us that this is still an important health issue. The risk factors we identified were similar to the risk factors identified in the 60s and 70s, telling us that as a country, we are not making the progress we are supposed to make. We are still talking about early marriage, average age of 40 years. We are still talking about short stature, which is basically a function of poor nutrition. We are still talking about illiteracy. But one important risk factor we identified that we can easily modify is failure to book for antenatal care. If we encourage our women to go for antenatal care, we are going to prevent the development of reproductive fistula. More so, if we encourage them to deliver under the care of skilled birth attendants. We just the audience note that the average duration of leakage was 5.3 years. That tells us that this is a problem of the poor, ignorant, and powerless. And that is why we look at the risk factors. Illiteracy is there, racial plus is there, rural place of residence is there. We can use the third eye to determine the weight of the baby. Based on that, we will decide on whether to allow the woman to have a natural birth or to deliver her by cesarean operation. We can use the third eye to measure the dimensions of the birth canal. And based on our findings, we decide on whether to allow the woman to deliver naturally or through operation. Using the third eye, we can assess women in labor. And when the labor is not progressing satisfactorily, we can terminate the labor of her abdomen. As students and residents, we are told that when these women develop as an vaginal fistula, we have to wait for 3 months before we repair. But other authorities challenge this, and we believe them. So we got 80 women and divided into 2 groups. Group A that had early repair and Group B that had late repair. At the end of it, there was not much difference between the early and the repair. Remember, when women develop vaginal fistula, they become ostracized. They do not engage in their conjugal possibilities. They don't go to their normal shops. So when we repair this fistula early, they will return to normal activity early. Secondly, in many places, this patient will have to wait for months and years before the fistula gets repaired. With this method, you can repair the fistula early and reduce the backlog. Remember, the average duration of leakage in the previous study was 5.3 years. If she is the only wife, what happens? And that is why the rate of divorce is high. And that's why in gynecology we save many marriages. The third eye can be used to determine the size of the fistula, the location of the fistula, the number of the fistula, and determine the surrounding structure. Based on that, we can trial patients into those to be operated by the general gynecologist and those to be operated by super specialists. Anemia in pregnancy is when there is low growth level in pregnancy. Yes, we know it is a common problem in this part of the world, but we never realized that the prevalence was so high until we carried out the study in government. Based on the WHO criteria, only 7% of the women had normal growth level. When we use the tropical definition, more than half had low growth level. In some of the villages, these women are the true breadwinners. They are the heroes of food and drawers of water. By the time they are pregnant, their work capacity reduces. When they have anemia, it further reduces. So it has some economic implications in the home front. When women are anemic, the babies delivered are likely to die. When they die, they get pregnant again, and in the course of multiple pregnancies to replace the lost ones, their lives are in jeopardy. babies born to anemic mothers have lower intellectual capacity. Today, we are talking about smart babies. Not large families that will go to the farm. We are talking about people like Mark Zuckerberg, who will sit in the comfort of his room and control the whole world. If we have to improve the quality of our babies, we need to encourage our women to take the hematitis given to them during their antenatal clinic visits. The third eye can be used to monitor the consequences of anemia in pregnancy and can guide us on when and how to deliver these babies for optimal care. Mr. Chairman, sir, distinguished members of the audience, over 50% of gynecological consultations in this part of the world is as a result of childlessness. And the commonest reason is reproductive tract infections. And the most important sequelae is blockage of the fallopian tube. As a young resident, I observed that we operate on so many patients to unblock the fallopian tube, but hardly do they come back pregnant. So we have to review this practice of assistance. I found that out of the 92, only 5 carried pregnancy to term. And in fact, one of the reviewers asked me, how am I sure it's not a chance occurrence? So what is the implication of this study? We now have data to guide our women on the choice of management, whether to go for surgery or to go for test tube baby, adoption, surrogacy, or other options. Today, we can use the third eye to determine whether the tube is patent or not. If it is blocked, we can determine where it is blocked in real time. Not only that, we can also use the third eye to assess the ovarian function. We can use the third eye to assess the nature of the womb, and that will tell us whether the womb is ripe for conception or not. So the third eye can be used as a one-stop shop for patients with childlessness. In my early days, I had interest in cancers, or what was called oncology. And that was why, within a decade, we published 11 papers related to cervical cancer. The third eye can be used to diagnose cervical cancer even before the patient complains of symptoms. The third eye can be used to guide the surgeon on the extent of surgery for cervical cancer. The third eye can also be used to monitor treatment. Mr. Chairman, sir, distinguished members of the audience, it will interest us to note that 60% of women who are diagnosed with cervical cancer in this environment die within the first year of diagnosis. This is because most of them present late at a stage that we can't do much. Fortunately, this cancer is wholly preventable with cervical cancer screening services. There are a few studies out of the 11. We compared the awareness and utilization of lay women and female healthcare workers to the commonest screening method we call pap smear. As you can see in green, yes, the knowledge is good enough. But that does not translate to uptake of the cervical cancer screening services. And interestingly, when we ask the healthcare providers, these are doctors, nurses, medical laboratory scientists, so on and so forth, whether they will be willing to do this pap smear, 71% say if it is free, they will do it. What it means is that if it's not free, they won't do. And this is a cancer that kills women in their prime. Women die in pain and agony for a cancer that is wholly preventable. What does it tell us? This tells us that we cannot rely on and sinker with what comes out from the Western countries. We have our data. Let's use our data. Let us make cervical cancer screening free for our women. This is an investment in the future. To me, I think this is the study that is most impactful as far as cervical cancer prevention is concerned. Because we realize that in this part of the world, we do not have organized cervical cancer screening services. What we have is opportunistic screening services When women come to the clinic for one reason or the other, we ask them to go for this test. Or for those who are in Latin, when they come, they go for this test. But again, even at that, there are barriers. Whenever one wants to go do this test, she comes to the clinic, she has to buy a folder, go and see a doctor, she has to go to a laboratory, collect bottles, go back to a doctor, take it back to a laboratory. There are so many barriers. So we decided to come up with a risk score. And we classified the risk score as low, medium, and high, so that we can only target women at high risk, because that is where we expect to get the most yield. As scientists, it's important for us to review our practice, whether to continue with what we are used to or to change practice based on available evidence. As a resident in Gombe, I observed that most times when we engage women to do a test called VDRA for syphilis in the antenatal clinic, these results hardly come back positive. And the few that come back positive are actually false positive. When they came out to Maiduguri, it's something. So we decided to review this practice over a period of 10 years. And the prevalence we found was 0.05%. So yes, in 1996, other researchers found a prevalence of 4.3%. It's okay to continue with the practice with this high prevalence, but do we still need to continue with this routine practice with a prevalence of 0.05%? And that's why we call it the title. Is routine antenatal screening for syphilis in Nigeria still justified clinically and economically? With a prevalence of 0.05%, is this justified clinically? We don't think so. Economically, the former CBN governor, Lamido Sanusi, said that if Borno and Yobe were countries, they would have been the poorest countries in the world. So, the cost of this test can buy hematinics throughout the pregnancy, can buy 2 doses of antimalarials throughout pregnancy. These are more important reproductive health challenges in this part of the world than syphilis. Agreed, we cannot change practice based on a single study. And that's why we recommend for a multi-center study, so that we decide on whether we can change this practice or not. The third eye can be used to pick the consequences of syphilis. The placenta may be, or the afterbirth may be large, and the baby may be bloated. And it will guide us on when and how to deliver. Mr. Chairman, sir, distinguished members of the audience, the greatest tragedy that can befall a pregnant woman is to die in the process of bringing forth the fruit of the womb. We carried out the first audit in Yola, and the maternal mortality ratio was actually within the national average. Not so in UMTH in the last decades. The third eye can be used in several ways to reduce both harm and death of our mothers. This is the trend of maternal death in UMTH over 19 years, from 2001 to 2020. Between 2000 and 2008, this is the average per 100,000 live births. Well, it's within the national average. So at a point in Maiduguri, we're doing well. So today, the average is 1,285. And look at this peak of 2,000 deaths per 100,000 live births around 2011. So what happened? Boko Haram. This is the consequence of insurgency. Boko Haram started in 2009, and up to today, we have not recovered as far as maternal mortality is concerned. When people talk about the casualties as a result of Boko Haram, people talk about the number of IDPs, the number of migrants, children scampering for safety after bomb blast. And people talk about the 34,000 deaths. Who counts mothers who die in the course of bringing forth the food of the womb? Who takes care of the babies? They're the mothers. And that is why when the mothers die, some of the children will also die as a consequence. This is what we're talking about. We are yet to recover as a result of Boko Haram. Look at the statistics. One of the leading causes of death of our mothers is infection. And one of the contributing factors to infection is home delivery. Agreed. I was delivered at home into a calabash. As a young boy, I was shown a black calabash. And a good number of my generation and our seniors were delivered at home. But the world has changed. The world has moved on. You cannot continue to remain in the past. Mr. Chairman, sir, it's important to note that the surest way to reduce maternal death is for women to deliver under the care of skilled birth attendants. We reviewed this practice in Madagascar, and we observed that 75% of those who conducted the delivery did not use gloves. So what would be the contribution of infection, maternal death in that environment? We also observed that only about 60% of the deliveries were conducted by skilled birth attendants. And again, a previous study in Maiduguri showed that 70% of our women delivered at home, compared to 49% in Madagascar. And the Nigeria Demographic and Health Survey in 2018 said only 29% of women in Borno deliver under the care of skilled birth attendants. They may have their reasons for not coming to the hospital. We have been on this ding-dong party for so long. Say, come to the hospital and deliver. They say, no, we want to deliver at home. So we've been on this battle for so long, and our women are paying dearly for that. I think the time is right for us to go wherever they want to go to deliver. Let us go and deliver them there, because we are sure we are going to reduce maternal death. Mr. Chairman, sir, very few women die during pregnancy. Most of the deaths occur around the time of delivery and within the first 24 hours. And that is why the presence of a skilled birth attendant at that point is critical to reduce maternal deaths. One of the ways to reduce maternal death and improve the health of our women is to avail them to family planning, or what others call contraception. So we decided to look at the opinion of both men and women regarding giving women the independence to choose whatever type of contraception they want. Interestingly, only 34% say women should be allowed to independently choose. More interestingly, 61% of the women also say they don't want the independence. They want their men to be involved. And 85% of the men agreed. What does that tell us? What it tells us is that we have to open a channel of communication between the husbands and wives if we have to improve the health of our women and to reduce maternal death. BMJ Open is a Q1 journal. We sent this article in October 2020. It was only accepted last week. It's all about using the third eye to determine who operates on patient A and who operates on patient B, depending on the finding of the third eye in patients who have had previous cesarean operation. The article processing charge for this journal is 1,500 pounds. That translates to 844,000 plus. For elderly countries, there's a waiver of 50%. That is more than the salary of a professor. I imagine one day, when the University of Maiduguri will pay fully the article processing charges of papers accepted in Q1 journal. Because today, researchers are rated based on their matrices. Departments are rated based on their matrices. Institutions are rated based on their matrices. So as the matrix of the scholars increases, so will the matrix of the university. So it's an investment for the university to be fully sponsoring articles accepted for publication in Q1 journals. 2 candidates that my mentor supervised at the point to receive the best prize in that examination. The last candidate I supervised in Gombe received the best prize for the same examination. Now, the chairman has already gone through this, so I will not tell what that was. Now, these are repeatable databases. We are visible on Google Scholar, ResearchGate, PubMed, Academic Reviews, Scopus, Web of Science, and Populous. And this is my citation. I have over 1,000 citations on Google Scholar, and this is my catch index and item index, and my Scopus index is 9. Today, Mr. Chairman, it is not about the institution where you come from. It's about what is your metrics. If I meet somebody in Harvard, we are at the same level. I'm not bothered where he comes from. I'm asking about what is his test index. If he tells me his index is 15, I know University of Maiduguri is better than Harvard as far as the metrics is concerned. Most scholars have been cited in all the continents except Antarctica. When companies produce goods and services, where do they get their feedback from, whether they are doing well or not? From the customers. As lecturers, what do we provide? We provide services. And our customers are the students. And for me, in 2010, the students said I was their favorite lecturer. In 2011, they said I was the best lecturer. In 2014, I was awarded the outstanding lecturer. In 2016, friend of the class. 2021, Award of Excellence, and the secretariat was named after me. These are places that I have visited, also on behalf of the university, also improving the visibility of the university. I have assessed 10 candidates for professorial cadre in various universities, as external examiner also, and as accreditation team member for both NUC and our professional bodies. I review 11 articles for journals in Nigeria. I also review for journals in Germany, France, UK, Libya, and two of the journals I review for are Springer Nature journals. As the editor-in-chief of these journals, we've taken these journals to high pedestal. We've indexed journals in many indexing bodies. The most recent is Directorate of Open Access Journal. Mr. Chairman, sir, this international ovarian tumor analysis group has to do with the third eye only. They have over 10,000 members spread across 25 countries. There are only 4 Nigerians who are members of this group. One is in US, the other is in Australia. There are only 2 living and practicing in Nigeria. The first is in Wari, and the second is the 79th inaugural lecture of University of Maiduguri. My administrative surgeon, as head of department, with the cooperation of the management, we secured a brand new third eye, also a colposcopy machine that handles issues of cervical cancer. We also produced local educational video. And we organized the first award day where the cleaner of the professor were awarded. These are the first publications of the department when I was the head of the department between 2012 and 2014. For those who admire our leadership style in the college, they call us the Maidians. And they have good reason to do that. Why? Because of the Maidian College Day, Maidian College Awards Day, Maidian College Newsletter, Maidian College Sabico, Maidian College Compendium, Maidian College Attestation, Maidian Lecturer Evaluation, Maidian College Peace Coordination, Maidian Lecturer Awards. And we are still counting. Many more Maidians will come. What interests me here is this and this slide. In the healthcare sector, we've been having this rift for so long. There's this Cold War, interprofessional Cold War, and that has not translated into better health indices. So I think it's time for us to have a rethink of the way we relate. And that's why we decided to catch them young. During the second college day, we brought students in different groups. Each group constituted members of different faculties. We want to create what we call unity warriors. So in future, what we need to be preaching is cohesion, collaboration, and team spirit. And we believe that by the time we do this on a regular basis, in Maiduguri, at least in Maiduguri, we will not have some of these challenges. The second is that we started the first award ceremony for lecturers, from senior lecturers and below. And one of the key criteria we use was Scopus Health Index. Why? Because Scopus is a universal language. And we want our researchers to be universal researchers. In the last 3 years, we have floated 6 programs, from BSc to PhD, and we are still counting. My professional expedition. These are the books I wrote as a sole author. The last one is a revised version of this. Some people ask me, why do I find time to do all this despite the busy schedule? So if you have a passion for anything, you will create time for that. I was interviewed by Daily Trust regarding this book, The Father's Legacy. And he asked me, what was the last good book you read? I said, Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. And he asked me, what are the highlights? Here you have someone who was in prison for 27 years, came out of prison and said, I have forgiven you. Let us come together and build a prosperous country. The second was that during the courtship of Mandela and Winnie, the elder sister ridiculed Mandela that he doesn't know how to use fork to eat. This village boy that the elder sister ridiculed became one of the greatest men in human history. Very big lesson for all of us. And of course, this is an upside from TBC News regarding this same book. Mr. Chairman, sir, I would like to warn here that the next image may not be suitable to some viewers, may abuse some people's sensibilities, may not be palatable to others, so viewer discretion should be exercised. As scientists, we need to show images to convey certain messages. I don't know whether to say it's a he or she, but before we saw, he was a he. So he was raised as a he. But with the use of a third eye, we realized that he was a she. So this is the reason why they thought he's a he. We fixed it. He was in secondary school. And he also told us that he has friends. So we can't ask him to go back to that same environment after changing his sex after 70 years. So we counseled them to change environment. 2 years after, you can see this young doctor there. Today she's a mother with the same doctor, and now she's still pregnant. So the empirical cost between patients and doctors most times are severe. 2009, 2021, we are far apart but united because of our issues. When a woman dies and the baby is alive, what do you do? The only way you can confirm that the baby is truly alive is with the use of that eye. Here a woman came, but 20 minutes after her death, the baby was still alive. So we brought out the baby using razor blades in the labor room, not the child. 15 months after the baby still came in and well. We need to follow up with the baby and see that solution. In secondary school, I participated in various competitions. I can't remember whether I participated in this, who is more important, the teacher, I don't know. I can't remember that. But today, I'm both a teacher and a doctor. But if you ask me, what do I want to be remembered as? Is it as a doctor or as a teacher? I would proudly say, very proud, that I want to be remembered as a teacher, not as a doctor. This is because I get fulfillment when I teach. I get satisfaction when I teach. When I'm going for lectures, I get prepared, I'm eager to go to the class. I'm not going to go to lectures. Neither am I eager to go to the clinic. When I'm ready on a patient and she comes back, she's happy. Well, I'm satisfied, but I don't get the satisfaction. So I want to be embarrassed as a teacher, not as a doctor. Wonders of ultrasound scan in pictures. A Chinese proverb says that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So the following images are more in pictures than in words. This particular image propelled me to go to India on self-sponsorship to learn how to use the third eye. When the patient came with complaints, I used the third eye. I only picked one live baby. I missed 2 dead babies. I said, no, this is substandard practice. And I cannot wait for the hospital or the university to sponsor me. So I went on self-sponsorship to India to learn how to use the third eye. Today, I will teach how not to miss this condition. And this paper was published in 2013. The second and final one. The same thing about the images. As scientists, if you have to convey certain messages, we need to show images and pictures. Again, viewer discretion should please be exercised. It is not rocket science to determine whether a baby is a boy or a girl. As you can see, I'm sure even the town will know that this is a boy on 2D, this is a boy. This is a boy on 3D. Here, this is the buttock. This is the external genitals, of the female baby. And this is lip, we call it lip sign. You see this? Lip sign, lip sign, lip sign, lip sign on 3D, and if it is desecration, lip sign. So it's not rocket science. How do we diagnose congenital problems during pregnancy? Whatever you see using a third eye, you should see the same thing after delivery. Whatever you see before operation, you should see the same thing after operation, you see the third eye. Here, this is the brain replaced with fluids. Of course, after delivery, we have to puncture this head to drain the fluid and bring on the baby, because the baby will not survive. There is no brain. This is what we call frog eye appearance, as you can see. Part of the head is not there, part of the brain is not there. The baby will not survive. And look at this, frog eye appearance. This is the chest, head, and you can see the baby with what looks like a turban. Brain outside the head. Here, after delivery, brain outside the head. Here you can see the heart, liver, intestine, all outside. After delivery, brain, liver, intestine, all outside. The third eye. And wonders of ultrasound scan. This is a wonder. So the third eye is a wonder in women's reproductive health. Here you have a baby, as if she's squatting in the womb, carrying something that looks like a bag of water. After delivery, the same thing. Is this a boy or a girl? It's a 4-day-old, born in Damaturu. They couldn't determine the sex. A wise doctor asked them to come to delivery. When they came, we found this female internal. So actually, this is a female. You can imagine the psychological trauma. After delivery, relative will come to congratulate and whatnot. They ask you, what did you get? There is no answer, because you are not sure whether it's a boy or a girl. The third eye can help this case. And the third eye really helped. Why was it difficult for them to pick in Damaturu? Because they use this probe, which has low frequency. The resolution is poor. When they get to delivery, we use a probe that has a high frequency, and that also solves the problem. Again, diagnosis at the back. This is she was raised as a female, but actually she's a male, or he is a male. We use a third eye, we couldn't see the female internal reproductive organs. And when we operated on her, Professor Ngada and et al. Confirmed that this is actually male organs, not females. So yes, she was raised as a female, but actually this is a man. She cannot menstruate, she cannot give birth, but then we cannot create a male organ, so she continues as a female. Here, we have another one, raised as a female, but she has both male and female organs. And the third eye showed us that she only has half of the womb. And again, the pathologists confirm that she can function as a woman, she menstruates, and she can carry pregnancy. But of course, we anticipate some challenges. This is an 8-year-old girl. Parents notice this. The third eye revealed that she is a female, not a boy. In terms of monitoring pregnancy, early pregnancy, this is what we see. As the pregnancy grows, and by 12 weeks, this is the appearance. So you can see that at first, if there are any problems with the baby, we're able to detect and then counsel the parents appropriately. Look at this same baby, taking different positions. Mr. Chairman, sir, you remember the picture I showed you of my primary school days? Because that was the ideal picture I had. Because then, where were the photographers to come and take our pictures of the delivery? But today, many have their pictures at birth. With a third eye, we are talking about pre-birth pictures, not pictures at birth. Years later, he may become an inaugural lecturer, and you can display this picture and tell us when he was 3 months, use his picture, when he was 9 months, use his picture. So that is where science has taken us. Now, again, look at this picture. This is the picture in the womb, not outside. So you can have this picture hung in your office as the picture when you were 8 months old, before the picture apart. Now, what is interesting here is that you can see this baby with this deformity. So with the use of the third eye, the 3D, we can pick this deformity while the baby is in the womb. And I understand someone in Israel has carried a surgery to correct this while the baby is still in the womb. So that when the baby is delivered, there are no challenges. The third eye is a wonder. The third eye is a wonder in women's reproductive health. My desired destination reminds me of one of the greatest, or the greatest, arguably I think, the greatest physicist of all time, Albert Einstein. He said that imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. Mr. Chairman, sir, distinguished audience, this is a set of twins in the womb. You can see them hugging each other and kissing. But along the way, you see some sort of misunderstanding. Whether it's a misunderstanding or friendly gesture, it's difficult to say. So, in future, Mr. Chairman, I want to monitor, you see that? And this baby is smaller, this is bigger. So, in future, will this behavior translate to bullying in childhood or adult? This posture that this baby has assumed, could this translate to neonatality? Could this translate to someone becoming a Usain Bolt? Look at this baby praying while in the womb. What does that tell us? So in future, I want to follow these babies and see what they will become in future. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Mr. Chairman, sir, the Harvard study of adult development, the longest study on happiness, took 75 years, and he was the fourth director who presented their findings in a TED Talk. I'm not saying that I'm going to complete my future study, no, but I will surely start the long walk. Today we are going to use our naked eye and observe the behavior, but my mentee of tomorrow will use artificial intelligence to achieve something. My future study reminds me of what Napoleon Hill said, that one of the main weaknesses of mankind is the average man's familiarity with the word impossible. Imagination is more important than knowledge. In the past, what I wanted to do was to go fast, and that's why I wrote 4 books as a sole author. Today, I want to go far. And that is why we have already collaborated with other researchers around the country. And we published the standard book in 2020, another standard book in 2021, and the third one is in the pipeline, Mr. Chairman. My desired destination, I imagine a day when I will secure huge grants so that I can build state-of-the-art laboratory in University of Maiduguri, where the data from that laboratory is only good for Q1 journals, and we can also produce only Q1 mentees. We are told that the last part of the meal is usually for the best. I want to appreciate the Vice Chancellor for giving me this rare opportunity to present the 79th inaugural lecture of my great alma mater. I want to announce to this House that I did not meet the Vice Chancellor to inform him that I want to present my inaugural lecture. I already discussed with the Director, Senate, and Academic Matters. And he told me what to do. After a while, he told me the Vice Chancellor has approved your inaugural. This is indeed a rare skill. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I sincerely appreciate it. I want to appreciate my mentor, a first-class mentor, a Q1 mentor who has mentored so many professors. He had to travel back. He only came in this afternoon just to attend the lecture of his mentee. I want to thank the college family. I want to particularly single out Professor Motara. During his 70th birthday, we discussed about my inaugural. He paused and said, okay, I will convince Madam for us to stay back until after your lecture. Through his word, see him seated here. So thank you very much. I want to acknowledge from my primary school classmates to my postgraduate classmates, my teachers from primary school to university and postgraduate, my patients, mentee students, and our virtual audience. I want to particularly appreciate my trainer in India, Dr. Malasival. She is now online listening to her students. I want to appreciate all my colleagues who have polished the inaugural lecture, many of whom are seated here, including my mentees. Mandela in his book described Oliver Tambo as someone whose attribute is in pure gold, in his humaneness, in his generosity, in his intellect, everything. He was describing my father. That was why I wrote a book in honor of my father. Here you have someone who had no Western education, but yet trained his children to enviable status. Right here is our eldest brother, seated here. I want him to stand up so that the students can appreciate him. Thank you very much. Yeah. This is the man who took over from where our daddy stopped. He trained me as an undergraduate, so he trained your teacher. So now, a retired director. This is Professor Babagoni, the Dean of Law. And this is yours sincerely. And again, we have educationists in the house. Why is Hadia Dija? Please can you stand up for everybody? This is my younger sister. Yes. She came all the way from Jalingo to listen to the inaugural of our elder brother. We have an engineer statistician in the house, the lawyer is in the house, the veterinarian, they are all around. So, who deserves a book in his honor better than my father? My mother was an introvert. She can hardly had a flight. She kept very few friends. In fact, she was an angel in human form. Unfortunately, this is not a picture. This is the picture of my maternal aunt, because I don't have the picture of my mother. When I was writing my book, I went around the world, so to speak, to look for who has a picture. None. So I used this as a surrogate. I believe that I inherited the introvert gene from my mother. My appreciation goes to all my family members, my half brothers. They are seated here, I can see them, my extended family, my in-laws. This is the big one. Right. As you can see, this is an angel. Remember, my mother was an angel, my wife is an angel, so I was surrounded by angels, so don't need to worry about it. So, I want to describe his wife as my jewel of inestimable value. I didn't mind. My priceless treasure. But then, I think our marriage is not a coincidence, because there are certain things we share. One, both our parents were settlers in Mabela Plateau. Both of us were born in the same locality. Both of us were born after a set of twins. Both of us were named Gambo. Both of us were the last children of our mothers. Her date of birth was 1976, mine was 1967. If you exchange the last two, it's nothing. So when people talk about what God has joined together, this is what they mean. What God has joined together, let no woman put asunder. Now, in trying to get the appropriate phrase or the appropriate word to describe my wife, I went around the world, checking all these dictionaries. Press. Then I remembered that there are certain words in our local dialect that cannot directly translate to English. So I decided to check Kamus and Turanchi, the Hausa. I couldn't find the appropriate word. Then it occurred to me, for a word to coin that phrase must have done a lot of research. So my jewel of inestimable value, thank you very much. Now you can see their picture. So we now have the luxury. My first picture was when I went to primary school. They have the luxury. We have their pictures. The young have grown. 22, 17, 15, 2. I'm sure some members of the audience will be wondering, this is a gynecologist. 22, 17, that's okay. But what happened 17, 15, 15, 2? What is the matter with this gynecologist? But I think this Prof answers it. You cannot control the wind, but you can adjust the cells. We adjusted the cells. 25 years of red carpetism in marriage. We read that there is no perfect marriage. We hear that there is no perfect marriage. We are told that there is no perfect marriage. To my wife and I, this is fake news. Mr. Chairman, sir, distinguished scholars, members of the town and gown, I believe that we are all convinced that the third eye is a wonder in women's reproductive health. Or is there anyone in the audience who is not convinced that the third eye is a wonder in women's reproductive health? Before I bring the curtain down, let me say, I thank you all. By your presence, you have made my day. I hope I made your day too. I would like to end with the word of Eleanor Roosevelt, who said that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Thank you very much for listening.
The Vice Chancellor, Professor Mohammed Bukar, on a round of applause. Thank you very much. Permit me, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to invite the Vice Chancellor to declare the 79th inaugural lecture closed. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, I hereby declare the 79th inaugural lecture closed. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Successful. I feel excited. I feel fulfilled, given this rare privilege to present this time knowledge of my great alma mater.
So what do you make of the inaugural lecture?
Well, as you can see, the audience were excited. I was so excited. The family excited. Everybody is excited.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We'll meet you there. Okay, so I would like to know, what do you make of today's inaugural lecture?
Well, as you clearly all saw, this is a very wonderful Q1 type inaugural lecture from a very sound academic, very dedicated clinician who has been thoroughbred and is thoroughbreeding the next generation of great academics in this university.
All right, now what challenges would this inaugural lecture seem to address?
Addresses a lot of frontiers, first of all, before the challenges. It addresses a lot of solutions, changes and achievements that have been able to be achieved over quite a number of years, involving a lot of training, capacity building to very high subspecialty level, able to have the kind of expertise that the inaugural lecturer, Professor Mohammed Bukar, was able to exhibit in ultrasound, in which he referred to as the third eye. But of course, the frontiers of ultrasound, like he rightly pointed out, are still progressing. And the greatest challenge we face is to be able to meet up the needs, both as institutions of tertiary education, as researchers and academics, particularly in the area of funding. You can see one of the articles that we published recently in a very high-index journal. It costs him over £1,500, which he had to pay out of his pocket. And definitely we know this is beyond even the monthly salary of a professor. So grants as well as funding of research and research publication is one of the greatest challenges that this inaugural lecture has brought us.
So in one or two words, how do you describe today's inaugural lecture?
Fantastic, highly accomplished and very progressive.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your time. Today's inaugural lecture.
As a brother and as a father, because I'm a brother as a father, it's actually one of my happiest moments. Having worked as and having worked in that gives intervention to tertiary institutions like Stephen. Representing Nigeria for that is one of the most interesting letters because I rather far. You can see from the moods in the board. One of the best lectures listed anywhere.
All right, can you tell us what challenges will this lecture address in the country?
Well, he has made a lot of recommendations to governments
as to how to raise the level of health status of the women of Nigeria in the field of obstetrics and gynecology. Mothers produce all of us. We are where we are today because our mothers are healthy. Because of that physical care. That is why we find me at 60, 61 running. I say, let us run. They will not get disease. It's because of the mother. If the mother is healthy, it will be a healthy nation. That is where.
So in one word, describe the lecture.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
This electoral bring us the light, show us the importance. We necessarily expand the horizon medical industry to show that is the light. Medical light, go further to show us the easy way on how to detect gender-based clinical analysis. It's very interesting and very wonderful and very insightful. I really commend it. Thank you.